Hi there, I'm Shiny Mike, and welcome to a quick tutorial. So, right now I'm currently working on a script that lets you randomly spawn a squad, well, not randomly, but spawn a squad in based on certain events. Now, this is done using triggers, which, if you're familiar with the mission editor, is found under this section up on the top right here. For those of you who aren't, it's basically just an item that you can place down with a set radius. Now, we'll be playing a lot with these today, so it's probably worth becoming familiar with them. So what I'm just going to do is place down a trigger. I'm going to give it a nice little radius. We'll put it at about 50, leave it as a default. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically tell it the requirements of the squad that it's to spawn. Now, this squad that it will spawn will have several features. First of all, it'll have a side, so we'll just need to define that first of all. And then the squad will have a name, so this will be what it's defined as in the description.ext folder, which I'll be going over shortly. So in this case, we're just going to call it test squad. And then, of course, there's the range at which it is triggered from. So this will be the distance from the player that the squad will initiate their creation. So the trigger will initiate the creation of this squad. So in this case, because we want to make sure that the players can spawn it from quite a big distance and therefore not have to worry about them seeing them spawn in, a good default would be about, say, 1,000. So 1,000 meters, 1 kilometer. Everything else you can leave as is. Say size is the only thing that will actually affect the mission file in terms of what spawns in, as that will determine the area in which the unit can spawn, as well as the area in which the unit can create its random waypoints, if you're using random waypoints. We'll go over fixed waypoints towards the end of this video. So we'll get that active now. So if I click play scenario right now, you'll notice that nothing happens. Now, this is because I haven't set up the description.ext. To set up the description.ext, we're going to move over to a different window. So let's go over there now. Now, in here, we'll want to define the unit as well as the class. So, first of all, we are going to want to define what can spawn in the unit. In the unit, we're going to want infantry. So, we'll create a class CFG spawn unit. It has to be spelt exactly as it shows on the screen here. Then we're going to create another class for the side. Now, the reason that I've independently assigned the sides here is because that way it makes the game understand better which side the squad is related to and what independent units you can have. So, for example, if I was to spawn a Rifleman for Blue 4, it would be a NATO guy. If I was to spawn it for Op 4, it would be CSAT. So this is important that we have that defined. Next, we're going to define the infantry. Now, so far, I've just got 2 infantry classes in here. Now, this is a rather smart system. It will just search for whatever class you choose to make it as. So I've defined Rifleman and Auto Rifleman. So going back to the Eden editor, which I'm just going to switch over to the other screen now. In here, we'll want to get the actual unit name for each of these squads. So I want a Rifleman, which is these guys. You'll see that it's got a unit name. So it'll say Rifleman at the top of there, but below it it'll say B_soldier_F. That is the class name. That is important to put in if you are wanting to create your infantry. So in this case, if I do under the other one, Rifleman in quotation marks, it must be in quotation marks, B_soldier_F close quotation marks. I now want to set the probability that this Rifleman will be selected from this list. Now, obviously, we want that probability to be at least 1. This is just so that when the script that randomizes, if you're having multiple different variants of the Rifleman, it can go, right, so this is how much it's weighted towards this particular unit. In fact, let's do that now. Let's put in another soldier that can be spawned in the rifleman slot. So I'm going to put the probability of a normal rifleman up to about 5, and then going to go back to the edit editor, and there is here a rifleman light, which you'll see his name is B underscore soldier underscore light underscore F. So we'll be using that in the notepad. So going back to notepad, it will be a new comma. Said new comma. I think I've broken it. There we go. So again, opening quotation marks, this time B underscore soldier underscore light underscore F, and then we're going to have that appear 1. So that means that we're more likely to get the guy in the helmet than the guy in the soft cap. Otherwise, it's basically just going to spawn them as at random when it's told to. Now I'm just going to create an auto rifleman using the same process. So auto rifleman is that one. So it's B underscore soldier underscore AR underscore F. And again, we want to weight it. You don't have to have more than 1 in all these arrays. 1 guy in that array is enough for the array to work, but it does need the probability of the spawn, otherwise it will get confused and not work for you. So if you are trying to spawn units in and nothing's happening, it means that you haven't set your probabilities, more than likely. So we've got rifleman, we've got auto rifleman. That's great. We'll come back to these other classes in a moment, and obviously OPT4, independent, same processes apply to those guys. Now we want to create another one called config, or CFG, sorry, spawn groups. Again, spelt exactly as it shows in the class here. And then again, we want to create the side class because you want to define which side this squad spawns from, as well as which side it actually is assigned to. Next, you want to create a new class which goes under the name of whatever your squad is going to be. This can be literally anything you want. It could be class B.O.O.O.O.O, whatever. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's a class that is a valid class. So obviously anything you put in there that will cause it to syntax break, like a semicolon, will break it. Make sure your class does make sense to you, as well as anyone who might be trying to use your units or your missions. Now we want to define certain aspects of the group. Now, for now, the unit isn't mounted. It's just going to be a foot-based unit, so we're going to use double quotation marks. Has to be put in there like that, otherwise it gets again confused. I could get it technically to search for false functions, but leave it as is. Do it as that, and you'll be fine. Vehicle, if the mounted isn't in there, there's no point assigning a vehicle type, so you can ignore it. Leader is the first guy to spawn in the squad. Now, in this particular case, I know I want my squad leader to be a squad leader. So I can assign the specific class type, which in this case is B underscore soldier underscore SL underscore F. Now, this is not a randomized array. It will always be the same type of guy when we are spawning in a unit. So oh, sorry, pardon me. So in this particular instance, I've set it as a squad leader because I know I want the squad leader to be a squad leader. I've said squad leader far too many times now. Next, we want the infantry. Now, this one is using the spawn units that we defined earlier, so rifleman and auto rifleman. I am going to put in rifleman, which is riflemen, as I put it there. How you put it in the infantry class is how you put it into your squad infantry array. As I say though, that can literally be any format you want. You could literally have a format called, so a guy here, an array in the class infantry that says something like, I don't know, idiots, degenerates, stuff like that. As long as it's a actual name with the 2 square brackets, followed by an equals, followed by the curly brackets, and then all of the information in there, the infantry section will search for exactly what you've told it to. So in this case, it's searching for exactly under the name of riflemen. I'm going to put 3 riflemen into this squad. There does need to be a comma between those, that's my fault. The next one, I'm going to put in an auto rifleman. So auto riflemen. Oops. It is case sensitive. Yep. And you know what? I'm going to put another rifleman in after that. This array here defines the order in which the unit spawns. So if you want your formation to be with the combat medic in the specific position in your delta formation, put him in the specific point in this infantry array. So in this case, I'm going to put more riflemen in, and we'll have another 3. So we have here a 8-man squad. It's not designed to be perfect. Don't start calling me out on it not being squad formation setups or anything like that. This is just a demo squad. You can define it however you want. Okay. Let's see. So that's all defined. Let's hit save. Let's go back to the Eden editor. Oops, there's a squad leader in there that I accidentally placed. Let's delete those guys. So you'll see this area here. I'm now going to go into single player. This works in multiplayer, but I've got it in single player for testing purposes and demo purposes. Now it'll take about 5 seconds once a unit walks into the area, but there you see the unit has now spawned in. And you'll also see it has its own randomized waypoints, which it will automatically pick safe waypoints, so they'll be walking at a nice slow speed, they'll follow the path along and go in formation. As you can see here, we've got 3 riflemen. There's the other one. And look, he's a light rifleman as part of the array. It will then follow up with the auto rifleman. And then the 3 other normal riflemen. Obviously, with the weighting I've selected here, only one guy has turned up with the light format. But these guys will happily just wander around and go to each of their waypoints. But you know what? They're going a bit slow. Let's give them a vehicle. So I'm going to go back to the Eden editor here. I'm going to go into cars. Let's see. I'm going to put them in the Polaris Dagger. That's a nice little vehicle. Yeah, that'll do the trick. So we know that one is B_LSV_01_unarmed_F. I know you can read. I'm just reading it out loud to make sure I remember as well. So, going over to the notepad, we will be wanting, let's see here, round. So in here, I've just created a bunch of different arrays. You can have these again named whatever you want, same as the infantry. It will just go, that's the array I need to be using, so that's the one I'll use. So I'm going to put into light unarmed the LSV that we're working with here. So B_LSV_01_unarmed_F. So again, it is a probability based list, and in fact I could, if I wanted, put in another vehicle. So it could be anything. I could pick up the OP4 variant of this same vehicle if I wanted to. I'm not going to. This is just for demo purposes, so you can see what you can have. Randomization does occur though if you add more vehicles. So with that now defined, let's close that array up. In fact, I'm just going to make sure that did actually define correctly. Yes, it did. And going back to the spawn squad. So we've got test squad here, and we're going to say that it's mounted. Now, the definitions that you've got here, class ground, air, and water, it will be looking for. So in this case, ground. So this means that it will search for the class ground. Technically, you can have different classes in there if you want on top of that. Though the only one really that is important is the air one, and I'll explain why later. Right now, though, I'm keeping it simple. So ground vehicle, and we are going to tell it that it wants to be a light unarmed vehicle. So let's put that into there. Now this will automatically put the squad into the vehicle. I do not believe that that can support 8. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, there's definitely enough room in there for 8 people. So, or if there isn't, it'll just spawn it outside, so it's not a problem. So with that saved, let's go back across to the game. Let's delete this Polaris Dagger. Hit play. now the vehicle should spawn in after 5 seconds yet again. There we are. Oh look, it did have room in there. Oh no, wait, one guy still stood outside. So yeah, you'll want to make sure if you're mounting your vehicles that there is enough space in the vehicle, otherwise you get people stood outside like this. However, as you can see here, we have a vehicle driving around in safe with a full load of men. It even does the randomization in there. I'm sure there's guys somewhere in there with a light helmet on. No, there isn't. Of course, just to show me up like that. But it would happen still. The same randomization occurs. Poor sod back here has to follow the vehicle around on foot. In Zeus, you can still delete these as needed, so I'm just going to get rid of him just for the demo purposes. But as you can see, quite happily just driving around. But you know, I think that's a bit too slow. They're in a vehicle, they're on the ground. So let's put them into an aerial vehicle. Let's give them a helicopter. Because, you know, helicopters are cool. So let's go back to the Eden editor. And we want a helicopter. Let's see, something cool. Everyone likes a Ghost Hawk or the Chinooks. Let's go with a Ghost Hawk. You know, nice, big, awesome design. So we know that the name of that one is B_heli_transport_01_F. So I'm going to be putting that across into the air class now. So I'll just go across to there. So in here, again, it doesn't really matter what these arrays are named, just as long as the arrays exist. So in this case, I'm going to use the heli unarmed. And again, we're going to create a randomized list on here, but I'm only going to put one item in it as before. So B_heli_transport_01_F. Now, the reason that helicopters are special, or more specifically aerial vehicles are special, is because they do two things. So first of all, they will spawn in the air automatically. You don't have to worry about putting them up there or them taking off or anything like that. They will automatically just spawn already airborne. The second one that's important is that they actually have more units in them than you might initially think. All air vehicles spawn with the default crew. The reason behind this is because I want to be able to make sure that the air vehicle has an appropriate pilot in there, because the squad that you're putting in it is supposed to be a ground infantry squad. I haven't got a way to override this at the moment, so if you want to override it, your best option is just to make a infantry make your own mod which does that. But for now, it doesn't override it. If it's demanded later, I can always add it in. So, mounted, air, heli unarmed. But what am I saying? You can mount it in the air without the crew in it. There is a way. So if you don't want to have the crew in, the class is up at the top here, ground, air, water. Only the air is searched for. And that there is the reason why the crew will be put in. So just put it into another category, air 2 for example. Then you can define what the crew is. So yeah, ignore what I just said about there not being a way to do it. There is. I just didn't think about it until now. Lovely. Right, so with that we've defined it air, vehicle, heli unarmed. Let's go back across to the... Oh, actually save it first. That's always helpful. Let's go across to the Eden editor. And in here, again, delete the Ghost Hawk. Playing single player. I'm going to go into Zeus on this one because it'll be airborne, so it'll be a bit harder to spot it straight away. There we go. And you'll notice it's already in the air. So he can now fly between all of the waypoints as he sees fits. But there's a problem. You'll notice here that he actually isn't moving at all. This is because helicopters tend to have quite a large roaming distance that they have to follow. So he's sat there thinking he's over the waypoint, but the waypoint isn't complete. So there's two ways to resolve this. One, create a randomized waypoint area which is a lot bigger than what I've set here, 50 meters. Say for example, if I was to set this range to be 1 kilometer, he would be able to traverse inside that kilometre. But he's still going to end up in situations like this, where he might have two coordinates right next to each other. One solution is just to move the waypoints further away. I said further away. I think he's a bit confused at the moment. Probably confused because he thinks he's at the waypoint. There we go. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I was worried would happen. So let's go back to the Eden editor. This is where the second option comes into play. So this one, we take a civilian. Doesn't matter what civilian. Could even be a blue 4 guy. What we're looking for here is something that we can synchronize using the connect, sync to, and then to the script. This guy doesn't need a name. All he needs is to be there. Let's say it could even be another man from the blue 4 side, which I could sync to. I'm not going to, as it's easy to identify if this guy's been removed or not, because you'll notice because he's, a civilian. So with that, I'm going to tell him to go over here, then over here, then over here, then over here, and then back over here. And then I'm going to tell the thing here to be a cycle. So at this point in time, that is a nice wide loop, and that's a lot wider than could be spawned inside this little area here. So we'll save the mission, launch the mission, go into Zeus Cam, and the helicopter will spawn in. And of course he thinks the first waypoint is where the guy was stood, so let's delete that one. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here. It's just... yes, that's what's happening. Small bug. I will have this fixed by the time that the thing is released. It's currently giving waypoints to the infantry inside of the vehicle. I need to give the waypoints to the pilots. So, yeah. That will be fixed by the time you get your hands on this, but what I've just demoed here is what you're expecting. Let's go back to a version which is on the ground so that you can actually see the waypoint system with the civilians in action. So just put that in there. Same principle, unit is on the ground. Oh wait, no, I need to go back to the Eden editor first. I've been recording for too long already, I'm making mistakes. So I've already done the edit in the description.ext file over there, just off camera. You notice the civilian is gone again. Vehicle will spawn in with our extra guy, and the waypoints will be scattered across the map. The other one's way over here somewhere. There it is, way off in the distance. Now, talking of way off in the distance, there are a few things you need to be aware of. First of all, the distance that you set in the squad's text for the trigger. So I've set it as 1000 here. That is how far it will spawn in at. It's also how far it will despawn at. So if the players leave the area of 1000 meters in this particular case for more than 5 minutes from the squad leader, so it's 1000 meters from the squad leader for more than 5 minutes, the squad will despawn. Alternatively, as long as the squad is in safe or aware or stealth, or even completely ignoring all enemies, the white one, it will basically despawn them after 5 minutes of being more than half that distance away. So this unit is definitely more than a kilometre away now, or at least it better be. Yeah, I'd say that's about more than a kilometre away. So it'll have started a 5-minute trigger. However, that trigger would have started at 500 meters because the unit is acting safe. If it had been under combat, it would have waited until outside 1,000 meters. So this will enable you to have automatic cleanup. Let's do something like that. So the unit has just been blown up. It's all dead. The players are definitely still alive. So here I am, perfectly fine. Now, in this particular case, it will wait about 5 minutes. That's the default time. And after that 5 minutes, it will ask, is the player outside of the trigger area of 1,000 meters in this case? If yes, then reset the squad. So this means that the next time you enter that trigger area, after the 5-minute time frame has passed, it will respawn the squad. Currently there's no way to disable that. It is an intended feature. I want the squads to be able to respawn. If you wish for that feature to be disableable, so for example it to be set as an off function, let me know in the comments of the mod, however, or the comments of the video even. However, for now, I will be leaving it as it will be set to automatically respawn the squad after 5 minutes and the players leave the kilometre area. Other than that, I think that's covered everything. As I say, I will be fixing that helicopter bug. That was something I had not even identified, and that's the benefits of testing. I've been Shiny Mike. Hopefully this has been a useful tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or in the comments of the mod itself, and have fun mission making.